Said if you can't win, wreck someone who can. And
Exactly.
I knew I wasn't winning that.
Why do people not get out of the fast lane?
Every time I see that picture of you riding around with that big ass fro you're wearing, I still get pissed.
It was that night I said preparate, but I didn't say what I wasn't supposed to say, and that's A1.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk 447. As always, I'm Jeff Emig, but look who's in the seat next to me. Carmichael is out. He's too busy. I went to the 7 Deuce Deuce, Adam Enticknap, first time on Real Talk 447. I appreciate you making time. I know you're busy this week, so thanks for joining the show.
Heck yeah, dude. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to talk a little bit of shop and just kind of hang out and go over some Supercross things.
Yeah. So I noticed that you've got a cool little setup right here. And I'm not talking about the broken collarbone. We'll get to that in a sec, but you're in your studio where you make all of your music.
Yeah, I actually built this thing from the ground up. It's pretty cool. This right here is like my little microphone setup. It's a wonder. It's actually modeled after a telephone, which is one of them, what do you want to call it, historical mics music, you know, like people of Beatles and those guys used it. And I really love this microphone. I recently got it probably 4 or 5 months ago, and it's probably one of the coolest things ever. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like in dirt terms, it's kind of like putting a Yoshimere pipe on your bike. You know what I mean? It's like, it just makes everything a little bit better. You know, your voice is a little bit better. Your signal's a little bit better. Just everything's awesome. Here, let's see if we can get this thing sideways. Hold on,
that
guys.
Bad boy looks pricey.
Yeah, this microphone right here was about 10 grand.
10 grand?
So, yeah, and then that's just the microphone.
Dude, I just stepped up my game last week and I spent like $200 total for the green screen and everything. Carmichael. So should I tell Ricky now that he's got, before now and next week, he needs to step it up?
Yeah, I'm going to say Ricky needs to step it up a lot. I mean, yeah, I don't know if you need that necessarily for podcast, but if you're making music like I want to make, you got to have something, you know, that's just pristine. And then I got my LA610. This is called a channel strip. And then this thing right here is my Apollo 6 underneath that, which is from Universal Audio, which is an audio interface that I can put other preamps on top. These are my Cali speaker monitors. I got some pretty big speaker monitors. And then obviously I got a sweet little Mac computer. That's the power source. I did lighting in here, but all this soundproofing actually, I got helped out by LA Vocal Booths, and they did me in. This is like what do you want to call it? Like an 8 foot by 8 foot, perfectly soundproof room. Everything's done. I even have a full, if you can see that little thing on the wall, my phone's plugged in, but those things up top, those little circles, that's an air ventilation system. So I can be in here for hours and hours and hours at a time and just kind of get into the groove, you know, have somebody else in here, catch a vibe, whatever I want to do. And then too, the other cool thing, I have these little remotes, and let's see if we can do it. Yeah, there we go. Hold on one sec.
Well, so for everybody that's listening on podcast, he's basically giving us a tour of his studio where he makes his album. So if you want to check it out, head over to YouTube under the Fox Racing YouTube channel, or you could just type in Real Talk 447. Well, sweet. That's a cool little tour.
Yeah, I can change the color of the lights in here and get everything going. So
you get your mood right. You get it right.
Exactly.
I love it.
My little home away from home.
I love it. Well, hey, so before we get going, we do have a couple of sponsors we're going to get to, as always. Of course, Fox Racing and Shift MX, they back Ricky and I. So if you need some new gear, fresh kits, I know you do the Lit Kit. You're not doing the Lit Kit Award, though, this year, right?
No, I'm not doing the Lit Kit Award. Little bear of bad news, but he's one of my good buddies, and I want to give him a shout out. The head of innovations at Adidas, Al Vanoy, actually passed away this last year from cancer, and he always helped me out with the Lit Kit Award, and that's why it was sponsored by Adidas. So big shout out to him, and you know, definitely a tragedy. That's one of the guys, you know, in our sport and in the world that has changed the world for the better. You know, he invented Adidas Boost Foam. and he was working on all that new 4D stuff for Adidas shoes. And he was the head of innovation for Adidas and changing the world for the better. And he loved riding dirt bikes.
Wow.
So, big shout out to Al, and, he loved the lit kit. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It was super fun. It was, and I was always bummed because, I'm not racing anymore, so I wasn't really eligible for the lit kit, but it was really cool. And I think that, when you look at, once you get behind the curtains and you realize how much the teams at these gear companies, whether it starts with like a concept design, and then you go into the, a development and technical parts of riding gear, motocross gear. Dude, it's a lot of work that goes into it. And the design is kind of the shiny wrapping, but there's a lot of technical stuff. And you guys have it so much better in your generation than the sweaters and the pants that I had to wear in my day. Even when I was a kid, when I was little, I had leather pants. They were one step away from biker football pants or something. Dude, they were leather.
So funny because our gear nowadays is so athletic. And when I go back and I look at the gear that even I had as a kid, not even what you had as a kid, no. I'm like, how did I even ride in this, Jeff?
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing is that it was at least a level playing field, right? Everybody was wearing similar product. And every now and then there'd be some fabrics come out that gear companies would kind of take a leap ahead, and then a season or two later, everybody's kind of got it. But for sure, right now, like with Fox, we have the Flex Air line with Shift. It's the blue label, and so that's the top of the line. I'm sure you're wearing Thor this year, I believe, right?
Yeah, Thor.
Yeah. I mean, the pants, right? The flexibility, and they're so thin. Hey, you used to take, and I used to take all my riding gear. I used to pack my own gear, and I used to have those bags that the pants would come in, and they probably weighed 3 or 4 pounds, and now I can take any of the top of the line gear. You can take the pant, jersey, glove, and you can fold it up into a gallon Ziploc baggie. And that's all it is.
Into a ball this big.
Yeah, it's nothing. So anyway, if you need new gear, check out foxracing.com. We got some badass stuff at shiftmx.com too. Of course, we're backed by ODI grips. Check out the Emig Pro or the Emig OG grip, V2 lock-on, and of course the Ricky Carmichael RC4 bend of the Podium Flight and the Podium CFT handlebars. All right, dude, last week you got injured in practice. Tell me what happened.
So it was really unfortunate. And I think, it's been going on a lot in Supercross lately. We've been talking about getting caught up with, with Barsha getting caught up with Vince Freeze and the little lapper situation. And then, this week in practice, I got caught up with another guy that made a mistake in practice. And that's what happened. And it's just unfortunate because, you can go home and, when it's your fault, you say, I made the mistake, I own up to it. And by all means, there is a part of it that was my fault. I'm riding the dirt bike and that's what it is. But, when a guy makes a mistake in front of you and you have to try to get out of the way and then, things happen, shit happens. And I hit the ground really hard. There was a, right across the starting straightaway, you make a double and then you could have.
So you go across the start and go left?
Yep. Oh. You go across the start, you go left, you make a little double, and then you could go 4 over the tabletop. And that was kind of like the main 450 line, and then what happened is, and it was a guy that was pretty good. His name's Carlin Garner. I consider him, a pretty good rider. I usually, when I'm doing my fast laps, I don't have a problem kind of getting behind him. But what happened is I gave him about 9 bike lengths and he didn't have, the best fast lap, that lap. I had caught him by that section and he went over that double and it looked like he was fine to go 3 onto the tabletop. So I was on a really good lap because I had caught him, quite a few bike lengths because I gave him some, at the finish line, and I'd caught him by that last couple sections. And I went for the quad. He went onto the table and clipped the tabletop with his rear wheel. Well, for those of you who've maybe done the Supercross Futures, or, tried to get on a Supercross track, when you clip the front of a tabletop, you almost come to a complete stop. And what happened is he clipped the front of the tabletop, and I was quadding the whole thing.
Which was huge because you had to go over the first two. You barely had to clear that, and then wrap. I mean, that was a big leap.
Wide open. Yeah, like a wide open. It was like you were fully committed, down the start straight away before you were making a left. Like I was like, I'm doing this before I'm even doing it type of deal. So I hit that thing. I was in the air. He had come to a complete stop almost on the tabletop. Ugh. I went left and I tried to lean left. I got a little bit off balance. And as my front wheel went over the back of the tabletop to quad it, it caught an edge and I was off balance and it tossed me this way. And I slapped the front of that next jump.
Just straight into the next jump with your right shoulder. Dude.
Full bore.
Oh yeah. Who else in the whoops, he let go of the bars and smashed into the up face of the whoops.
That was Jordan Smith.
Yeah. And that's the thing that people don't understand about Supercross. Like it's so different than, let's say, MotoGP. You go down, and granted, there's some pretty bad crashes and this stuff, and they're hauling ass. But when you go down, you can slide. You slide into stuff. Slide into a barrier. Slide.
You can kind of roll, and there's like there's dirt to. And I know, like this weekend, with how the track was, there was rain. But what people don't understand is it's so hard for the Dirtworks crews to mix the dirt. The dirt gets wet at the bottom because that's where it sits. Yeah. And then all the top of those jumps, they stay hard all week because they get covered. And the problem is, the transitions were getting, were sloppy down low. And I hit that transition where the ruts were, and I just got a little off balance. And then I hit the front of the hardest jump.
Oh, yeah. And it's so big. Yeah, because like if you're watching on YouTube, you can see, like, if you're on a sport bike, you slide. What Adam did, the up face of that jump looked like this, and the angle he was coming down like this. So see, that's like a 90-degree angle. No bueno.
No, so, you nailed it right there, Jeff. And you're right. Like with a sport bike, you might get sideways and go wah, and
it can hurt. Don't get wrong.
But it hurts. But you're also sliding on leathers, sliding across flat ground. Imagine if you got swapped out and then you just hit a wall. Yeah. All that momentum, that something's got to happen. Yeah. And that's what's so hard about Supercross, and that's what's so gnarly about Supercross is the next thing is 6 feet in front of you. That mistake is way, way bigger than it normally would be on an outdoor track or anything like that. Because, with an outdoor track, one thing I learned this season, because this was actually the first time I've ever done outdoor, you can make mistakes. Outdoor, you kind of got to make mistakes and you let it hang out and then you save them. Whereas Supercross, you can't make that mistake. No. That mistake, it's amplified. A little mistake turned into a really big mistake very quickly.
Well, a bunch of guys got hurt last weekend, so I want to get to that. But the injury, I assume you got it pinned or plated or something right away?
Plated. Yeah, all dialed in. So next day they got me in there, which was pretty cool. I got lucky because Orlando, right next to the track, is one of the best trauma centers in Florida. So just got that thing all dialed in and plated, and hopefully we'll be back in around 6 weeks.
Nice. So hopefully you can make it back before the end of the championship's over. Nice. Yeah, all right. Well, cool. Dude, super bummed to hear that. But last week, here I was on Racer X here, dude. The amount of guys that went down. Okay, the 250 start was crazy. What was going on last week? You got Cincerillo broken collarbone. Boom, you're broken collarbone. Starling's got a knee or leg injury. This is all on Racer X. In the 250, you got Carson Brown, Sean Cantrell, Harmon. Dude, it just keeps going. Alex Martin, Jeremy Martin. Like what? Poppy was a wrist. Robin, Smith. Okay, that was the end of that list. But dude, that's one weekend. So what? And why? What was different about last weekend? It's just 7 little whoop-de-doos, 7 little hoopties, and guys are going down. So I'm not on the track anymore. You are, okay? Yeah. What about last weekend? Why do you think that there were so many injuries?
Well, one thing, and I know you're going to agree with this, Jeff, is that it's the first round for the West Coast guys.
Good point.
It's the first round. And then two, on top of that, you got a lot of rookie guys. I personally don't think that Jeremy Martin would have got hurt if it wasn't for Styles Robertson making that rookie move. That's 100% my feel.
So you think that Styles was like, okay, I'm just going to keep pace, and wasn't really, did he not anticipate Jeremy Martin to not double that?
I think Styles Robertson was committed to that double before he left the gate. That's my opinion. I think I think it was one of those things where he was so excited and he was so brand new, and he was just kind of like, which it's hard to say because when I'm around like a guy like Chad Reed or a veteran like Jeremy Martin, in the 450 class, I expect those guys to do those jumps. I kind of send it too. And I'm sure Styles was thinking that, he was thinking, oh, of course, Jeremy Martin's going to do the first little double, but that to me is one of those things that was a rookie mistake. And then, at the same time, it was Jeremy's fault too, because he should know better than that. With the lights class having kids that are so young, that are so fresh to the sport, it's really hard to get them to make a mature decision to put on the brakes at the right time. Because, a lot of it is like, it takes a long time to be able to be mature enough to know when to send it and when not to, because those first three straightaways are so important to your race. If you lose that time in those first three straightaways with those jumps, you're out of it, especially for a guy like Styles Robertson. Not so much for Jeremy. If Jeremy could have made it through that first turn, I think Jeremy would have got a top 5, maybe even a podium. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where Styles Robertson, he needed to be top 5 to find that pace to kind of get in that groove.
I'm starting to think Jeremy Martin should just skip the first round of every Supercross championship, whether it was his performances, his mistakes, this bad luck at this. Has there anybody that has ever just the first round is just not his thing? I mean, dude, it's insane how bad of luck and just everything he's had at the round 1 of Supercross. I'm bummed for him because everybody, Ricky was going, hey, look, I think that I honestly think that this is his year to put a legit charge in on a Supercross title, and then boom.
I thought it was too. I think there was so bummed for all
those guys. Yeah.
And it's just like, where do you go? Because I've seen Jeremy, he took it cautious at the first round. You could tell he was like, I'm going to make it through this thing because I know if I can just make it through the first round that I can do this. And it looked to me like that first turn was him being cautious, and it caught him.
Yep. Okay, so tell me this. So, obviously it's been 20 some years since I've raced, but like to our viewers and listeners, try to put into words what the feeling is like when you're up front, first, second, third, clear track versus middle of the pack or at the very back. Like if you tried to throw out like a distinction between the three.
I would say, so if you're going to start with front of the pack, for me, the first thing I do, I've actually gotten a couple really good starts this year in the LCQs, and it worked out for me. And being in the front of the pack for me is always a thing of eyes ahead, and do not worry about what's behind you. Just race the track. That's always the most important thing for me. And I'm sure it was with you too, Jeff, back in the day. That kind of stuff doesn't really change, because if you start focusing on what's behind you when you're out front, you're just going to get swallowed up in nerves, in mistakes, in a million different things. And if you're out front and you have clear track, you have to take advantage of it, because very rarely in Supercross do you ever get space. That's one of the hardest things about Supercross is there's not a lot of space on the track. The width of the track will never be an outdoor track, and there's always somebody right behind you. There's always somebody right ahead of you that is racing you as hard as they possibly can. So getting out front early and having that clear track, I think the biggest feeling is just trying to be calm and focus forward. Now, if you're in the middle of the pack, I would say the biggest thing, the feeling for me is just straight urgency. It's absolutely, how can I make the pass right this second to get to the front of the pack? And the reason that is because we just talked about it, those first 3 sections are so important that everybody's so fast. If you're not in it by the end of the first 3 sections, let alone the first lap, you're not really in it. There's a few guys. There's like a Cooper Webb, Marvin Musquin, Ken Roxon, Eli Tomac, those top 5 guys that really can make something happen from a mid-pack start. That's really about it. That could have a challenge for a podium. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But even the points leader was only able to work his way up. What did Roxon get? 5th, 4th this week? 5th, I think it was.
4th. I think he ended up 4th right behind Barsha.
Yeah. So, okay. So then let's take it. I'll pose the question for the bad start here. Is that what's the worst start that you've got in an LCQ or heat race, I guess, and then you've qualified? Like, what's the furthest 14th. Back? 14th, and that was heat or LCQ?
LCQ.
So that's even more impressive because we only take 4 out of the LCQ. So you had to pass 10 guys. So you're 14th off your start and you're going, dude, blew this. So then if you have this bad start, what's the mindset? What do you got to do now?
At that point, when you're in 14th, because when you're in the mid pack, you have the urgency to make the passes. But when you're in 14th, there's another factor that people don't think about. The guys in the back are a little bit sketchy and they get cross-rutted on the track. So you have to make good decisions right off the bat because you can get caught in that stuff super easy. When I made the LCQ from 14th, and it was actually pretty recent. I think it was at Indy 3, I want to say.
Oh, this year.
Indy 3. Yeah, it was this year.
Nice.
And every decision has to be perfect. So you kind of have to, the way I want to put it is like, you have to throw expectation away and you have to do everything that you possibly can right. And because at the beginning of the race, it's kind of like, well, you're right. I'm shit out of luck here. I messed this up. When I got from 14th to 4th, I ended up 4th right behind 3rd. I literally, and you have to have luck on your side, Jeff. A lot of luck. I mean, when you're coming through the pack with those guys, they get so squirrely and everybody's trying to take everybody out. So
yeah, and so you want to be in the catbird seat, right? Right. You want to be
you throw everything out the window and you fucking go for it. That's it.
and when there's 2 guys get on the inside of each other, like a guy gets on the inside, you're like, okay, take him high because I'm going underneath both of you.
Seriously. No, seriously. And you have to make those decisions because the thing that people don't understand is one decision makes the difference between you making it and you not making it. Like, for instance, here's one decision at Orlando 1 that changed my whole weekend. I went off the triple in the LCQ. I was 5th out of the gate. I was right behind my teammate, Brandon Hartraft, and we were coming around the second corner, and there was the triple, and this was at Orlando 1. The first rhythm section, then the triple. I went a little tiny bit outside and kind of pushed right, and I landed off the side of the track just a bit, and then I had to put the brakes on, and another guy got by me, which put Tyler Bowers right behind me. Well, the next lap later, that one decision just to move a little bit farther right and make that little tiny mistake changed my entire night because one guy got behind me and then another guy got behind me that took me out in the next lap. And if I would have just stayed a little bit tiny, like a little bit more left and stayed on the track and never let that guy got by me, I'd have had another main event and it'd have been a totally different night. So one decision can make all the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Huh. Dude, it's gnarly. It's, my time with, doing TV, whether it's a motocross, supercross, and even doing these podcasts, I still at times, I just can't find a way to describe like what it's like being on the track and how gnarly supercross is. People, because most of the time you guys make it look pretty easy. Some guys make it look hard at times. But you watch like Justin Cooper in that 250 main.
Yeah,
he was greasing the quad over the tabletop, tripling a turn. He was riding like he was just on a practice day.
Like you're like
on a 250.
Yeah.
You think his 250s as fast as your 450? Dude,
I can almost guarantee it, especially with him on it. You know what I mean? Like maybe obviously not with me on it because I'm like coming in around 205, but with him on his 250, I bet you it's pretty comparable to horsepower.
Oh yeah, he's probably like 145 or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, okay, so give me your thoughts on the 450 title chase. Like this was a big weekend. This last week is the first time that Roxon really had a bad start. Was challenged. Webb is stepping up. He's championship guy all the way. Where do you think we're at with this?
I think we're in a big old pickle right now because Kenny looks like a new guy, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But Cooper Webb also looks like a champion. I don't think, and every time I say I don't think Tomac's in it, he comes back and he'll win 5 in a row, and then all of a sudden he'll be back in the championship.
Yeah.
And that's what he does late in the season. But with that being said, Ken Roxon came from 22nd, 20th place to get a 4th. That's unreal.
Yeah.
But
past Tomac too.
But, yes, here's the but. Cooper Webb caught fire.
Yeah.
And that's trouble. I love Kenny. I'm a huge Kenny fan, and I want to see him win the championship. But if Kenny's going to win the championship, you got to shut that boy down. And the only way to shut that boy down is to make sure that he doesn't make a mistake like he did this weekend by picking a gate that had a bump in it. Every single thing has to be methodical. Everything has to be perfect, because I'm telling you, this championship is going to come down to the wire. I mean, this is going to be a full-blown fight. Right now, to me, it's in either one of their hands. I think that Kenny personally has the edge because Cooper knows how much stronger he is this year than he was in the past. And I just think Kenny can't beat himself. He can't afford to make a decision like that. He can't afford to make a bad start decision or anything. There's no slip ups anymore. There can't be. He has to start beating Cooper Webb week in and week out. And that's pretty much the bottom line. You cannot let Cooper Webb go on a streak. Whatever you got to do to shut him down, play his game. You know what I mean? And the thing is I've trained with Kenny. Kenny is one of the mentally strongest dudes I've ever met in my entire life. This dude is a G. This dude is so gnarly when he gets to the track. He's he's unbelievable. Play that game with him. Throw something in his face. Cooper Webb just wants to taunt you and wants to pick at you, and nobody picks at that kid. Give him a couple picks. Do something. That's my opinion. Dude, we're in a championship for millions of dollars, and Kenny deserves it more than any of them, in my personal opinion. And the other thing on top of it, I think Kenny has something that he hasn't had, and that's his family. When I see him with his family on this journey, I think that is vital to this championship too. I think Courtney and his son and his family being at the race is a huge deal.
Yeah, it's definitely been grounding for him. as a racer, I always wondered how guys could have kids and race and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
I guess I proved my theory or my program wasn't always the best either. I had quite a bit of distractions, and it seems like, it seems like you get into that happy place. It gives you that drive. It gives you that reason to get up and do your job in the morning and to be focused and all that. So it's pretty cool. Ken's a world champion. He is, championship caliber. I will say that having the experience of winning this championship, it was quite a bit different when I got to the end of the season in 1997 about the things that come with being in that spotlight. And now Ken's been there and failed a couple of times. So now he's got some experience there. Also, Webb's been there, Tomac, all these sort of guys. But it's going to be interesting to see when we get to Daytona, what that can, I'm setting my timer here. Daytona seems to be such a pivotal time of the year, such a pivotal race.
Every year. Last
year, Kenny made a big mistake that cost him, and it probably mentally was rougher than just losing the 3 points and losing the win. So I can't wait. I mean, Daytona's next race, right? This weekend's off, and then we go to Daytona. So I love it. I love it. Right. I don't really have a horse in the race, if you will. And so I'm just pure spectator at this point. And I love what I'm seeing out of these guys. It's whoever wins this year is going to have a ton of respect, and no doubt about that.
Absolutely. I think that this year, there's a lot of guys that are there, and there's a lot of guys that are fighting, and there's a lot of names on the list.
Yeah.
I think another thing to think about with the championship is those Atlanta rounds. I think that favors Cooper just because he's back. I think he's done good at those Atlanta rounds in the past, and I just feel like that's a good spot for him. But at the same time, I feel like Dallas is a really good spot for Kenny. So to me, those are my two lead names in the championship. But right now, you just got to beat the other guy. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're still in the blinders on. It's just about wins. It's about the next race, whatever the next race is.
You got to
right?
beat the other guy.
Yeah.
That's 100% it. You just got to beat the other guy, whether it's mentally or physically. You just got to beat the other guy right now.
Yeah. Dude, I've been there before, and that I miss that part of racing so much, and especially being in the championship hunt, like being in that battle. There's nothing else in life that takes the place of that. It's so unique, right? I'm 50 years old now. That was, 24 years ago. But the focus that you have to where it's like every minute of the day you wake up and you're working towards that one goal, and everybody's just taking care of everything else for you, and you're just focused on that. It's a great place to be. And these guys should feel really lucky to be blessed enough to be in this position, So, hey, Adam, any chance that we can get a track from you for the end of the show? I'm not sure if you watched the show before, but my buddy Andrew McKeague from the Andrew McKeague Band, we use a track of his called "This Old Lie," kind of our theme song, kind of fitting.
Absolutely.
Right. And I thought it'd be cool if you took us away with some track this week as we say goodbye to our listeners and our sponsors, Fox Racing, Shift MX, ODIgrips.com. If you could pick something out and let us use it on the show here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send something over right now, actually. All
right. Well, thanks to all the fans for listening. Adam, appreciate you being on. And so what are you taking us away with?
I think this song is coming back around just because I got injured, and I think the time is coming back around.
All right, coming back around, Adam Enticknap and the 7 Deuce Deuce. Thanks for joining me for Real Talk 447. Appreciate it.
You know it, Jeff. Thanks.
All right, see you guys.
I'm always coming back around. I'm always coming